France officially enters a new lockdown at midnight. The new measures approved today by the National Assembly will drastically restrict freedom of movement. People will be allowed to go out only for essential purposes, and the new restrictions will stay in place until at least the 1st of December. French President Emmanuel Macron said yesterday that the new measures aim to protect the most vulnerable. But on the other hand, cafe and restaurant owners are worried they're not going to survive this time round. Guillaume Petit has been speaking to some of those affected business owners in the French city of Lyon.
Last rounds before lockdown. In Lyon, Frédéric, the owner of this restaurant, is forced to close for the second time of the year. The new COVID restrictions now in place across France for at least the next 4 weeks leave him with one question: how to survive while his turnover has already dropped by 40% this year.
This question pops up in my head so much, I almost don't sleep anymore. I don't need pills for now, but I'm not far from this point because I keep thinking about how to reinvent myself. Where are we going and how to save the jobs of my 11 employees?
There is no other choice, says Emmanuel Macron, but to come back to lockdown as intensive care units' capacities will be almost fully occupied by mid-November. Restaurants, bars and non-essential businesses must close, but Thursday streets were still crowded. Some customers were even queuing for a last restaurant meal.
We're not going to be able to see each other for 1 month.
It's a justified decision, but it's hard.
The curfew wasn't really working.
It encouraged people to make parties at home and to sleep at your friend's place.
However, there are signs of lockdown fatigue. Most of the French we met understand the needs for new measures.
We, the French, are quite sick-headed. We want to do what we want, and then we grumble because we are put under lockdown. I think other countries have been more compliant with the measures, and have been able to limit the outbreak better than us.
We are all responsible, especially the young people, as we met after 9, including me. Now we are taking a slap. It's like a punishment.
This time, lockdown will be slightly different. Schools will remain open, as will parks and street markets, but remote working must still be implemented as much as possible. The impacts on social activities and on businesses are in all minds, but the French government said it will do whatever it costs to help businesses, for instance, by financial partial unemployment, but also by helping small businesses and independent workers. This whole plan might cost for the state at least 20 billion euros. In Lyon, Guillaume Petit for Euronews.
Meanwhile, experts are warning that this second lockdown could cost France 0.5% of GDP every week. Let's talk about this with Thomas Mikalski, an associate professor of economics at the HEC Business School in Paris. Thanks so much for joining us here. How do you work out that this month-long lockdown could cost France 2% of GDP in the short term?
So you actually can observe how many were, based on the previous lockdown already what happened. We already have calculations coming from the statistical agency that was providing updates in real time on hours worked. So there are estimates that are circulating. There's research that has worked out the entire network of the French economy. And for example, there are some very interesting lessons from that. In particular, the important point that you've mentioned, Oliver, already, is that the primary, secondary education, the schools are going to remain open, and that will permit around 13% of the workforce that have little kids and are at their most productive age to continue working.
I was just about to ask you about that, because that means if the parents are still working, they can contribute to the economy, which I suppose means that this lockdown, while it is still severe, won't have as bad an effect, or am I wrong there?
Exactly. So it's estimated that, in fact, nearly half of the negative impact of the previous lockdown was due to exactly parents not working and having to take care of their children. So, in a sense, everything that you see in the new measures is done so as to make the French work as much as possible in the sectors that remain open. So, just to recount, factories, public administration, construction sites, they remain open. Only those services like restaurants, bars, and non-essential services like florists, barber shops, etc., they will remain closed.
Thomas, we've only got about 30 seconds left. If just quickly, if you will, which parts of the economy are going to be the hardest hit?
Well, obviously, the retail sector, small and medium-sized businesses, because in the pre-holiday season, their business is necessarily going to be taken online to large places like Amazon or supermarkets that will be able to remain open, and they will be able to offer a wide range of services and goods that retail services will be not unable to because they will be closed.
Thomas Mikulski, thank you very much. You came in right on time there, joining us from the HEC Business School in Paris.